Hi, I'm Jackson. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The late night studying, the sudden password changes on her phone, the way she'd tense up whenever I asked about her plans after graduation. You're overthinking again, Miranda said, not looking up from her textbook. She'd been at the kitchen table for hours, the same page open. Am I? You've barely said 10 words to me all week. I placed a cup of coffee beside her, the small gesture feeling like throwing a penny into a wishing well. Talk to me, please. She finally looked up, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. There's nothing to talk about. I've got finals, thesis deadlines. She trailed off, eyes darting back to her book. And after that, we haven't discussed anything about what happens after graduation. I took the seat across from her, trying to catch her gaze. Do we have to do this now? Her voice carried that familiar edge of irritation. Carlos had warned me. My best friend since high school, he never minced words. We were shooting pool at Riley's bar just last week when he brought it up. Have you noticed anything different with Miranda lately? He asked, lining up his shot. Like what? I chalked my cue, pretending I hadn't. Come on, man, she's always with that study group. Same one that doesn't include any of her actual classmates. Carlos sank the 8-ball and straightened up. My cousin saw her at Westfield Mall with some guy, looked pretty cozy. It's probably nothing, I said, but the words felt hollow. Jack, you've supported her through 4 years of law school, paid the bills, handled everything while she focused on her dreams. Just protect yourself, okay? I should have listened. 2 weeks after that conversation on a rainy Tuesday, I came home early from work. Miranda was sitting at our dining table, a folder of papers neatly arranged before her. We need to talk, she said, her voice steady and unfamiliar. About what? But I already knew. I've filed for divorce. She slid the papers toward me. It's straightforward. We divide what little we have, and we both move on. Move on? I felt like I'd been punched. After 6 years, just like that? Jackson, we got married too young. I've changed. My priorities have changed. Your priorities or your options? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Miranda's face hardened. I've been offered a position at Chandler and Ross in New York. I start next month. And when were you planning to tell me about this? My voice was eerily calm despite the earthquake inside me. I'm telling you now. Look, there's no easy way. Is there someone else? The silence answered before she did. Robert, my study group partner, she finally admitted. It just happened. Things like that don't just happen, Miranda. She looked at me with something between pity and impatience. The papers don't require your signature today. Take some time if you need it. I picked up the pen. I don't need time. You've clearly had enough for both of us. As I signed, she said, I really am sorry, Jack. You're a good man, just not the right one for me anymore. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the last time. Good luck in New York, Miranda. I said nothing else, just signed the papers and walked out, leaving her sitting there with the remnants of what was supposed to be forever. She took the couch? Who takes a couch in a divorce? Carlos handed me another beer as we sat on camping chairs in my half-empty apartment. Someone who doesn't want to spend their first big paycheck on furniture, I said, staring at the empty space where our life together had been. You're being too nice about this, Jack. She blindsided you after you put her through law school. I shrugged. What good would fighting do? She made her choice. Yeah, and it was a crappy one. Carlos leaned forward. So what now? What's your plan? Plan? I don't have one. Just work, I guess. No way. This is not who you are, man. You don't just exist. Carlos stood up, pacing the empty living room. Remember before Miranda? You had dreams too. That architectural design program you gave up because her law school was in a different state? I hadn't thought about that in years. Architecture, the sketches I used to draw, buildings that existed only in my imagination. That was a pipe dream. Was it? Or did you just convince yourself it was because it was easier than trying? The question hung between us like smoke. The next day at the construction management firm where I worked, my boss, Ellie, called me into her office. Heard about your situation, she said without preamble. Divorce is a bastard. News travels fast, I muttered. Small office. She slid a brochure across her desk. University of Michigan. They have an exceptional architectural program for working professionals. Classes mostly online, 2-week residencies each semester. I stared at the brochure. I can't afford this. The company can. We're expanding our design division. Need people who understand both construction and architecture. Ellie leaned back in her chair. Consider it an investment in our future. Ellie, I don't know what to say. Say yes or say no, but decide because you want to, not because someone else made you think you couldn't. That night, I called my sister Vanessa, who had always been my voice of reason. What do you think? I asked after explaining Ellie's offer. I think Miranda leaving might be the best thing that ever happened to you, Vanessa said. That's harsh. Is it? Jack, you've spent 6 years being her support system. When was the last time you did something just for you? It's not that simple. Actually, it is. You're single, you have a boss offering to pay for your education, and you're still young. If not now, when? Her words echoed in my mind as I stared at my empty apartment wall, where I'd hung my first architectural sketch years ago. Miranda had taken it down to put up her law school diploma. 3 days later, I was in Ellie's office with my application completed. I'm in, I said, sliding the papers across her desk. She smiled. Welcome back, Jackson. The client wants a statement piece, but also nothing too unusual, I explained to my design team, gesturing to the blueprint spread across the conference table. Whatever that means. It means they don't know what they want until they see it, Zoe replied, her quick mind one of the reasons I'd hired her straight out of graduate school 3 years ago. 8 years had passed since my divorce. The architectural program had led to a partnership with Ellie, and eventually my own firm, Meridian Design. We specialized in sustainable commercial spaces, and our reputation had grown steadily. Show them 3 options, Carlos suggested. He joined my team 5 years back, bringing his engineering expertise. One safe, one bold, and one that'll make them clutch their pearls. They'll always pick the middle option, Zoe said with a knowing smile. Psychology 101, I agreed, gathering the plans. Let's refine these for tomorrow's presentation. Later that evening, Zoe lingered as the others filed out. You've been quiet today, she observed, perching on the edge of my desk. Everything okay? Just thinking about the Westview project. It could be our breakthrough into international markets. She studied me, her analytical mind working. And what? There's something else. You get this look when you're not saying everything. I smiled. Zoe had become not just a colleague, but a close friend, someone who understood the language of ambition and rebuilding that had defined my life. Today would have been my 15th wedding anniversary, I admitted. Not that I've been counting. Ah, she nodded. Does it still hurt? I considered the question. No, not anymore. It's more like remembering a different person's life. That's because it was a different person. The Jackson from 15 years ago isn't you anymore? Is that a good thing? Look around. She gestured to the office with its awards and blueprints. You built all this because you finally put yourself first. I'd say that's a very good thing. The conversation was interrupted by my phone. Ellie's name flashed on the screen. Jackson? You'll never believe who just called our office looking for you, she said without greeting. Who? Miranda Walker. Or I guess it's Miranda Taylor now. She's back in town and wants to meet. The name landed like a distant echo. What for? Didn't say, just that it was important. I told her I'd pass along the message. After hanging up, I noticed Zoe watching me carefully. Old ghosts? She asked. The oldest? Are you going to call her back? I looked around at the life I'd built, brick by careful brick. I think I will. Some chapters need a proper ending. The cafe was busy with the lunch crowd when Miranda walked in. I recognized her immediately. Same blonde hair, now cut in a sleek bob, designer clothes, the confident walk of someone accustomed to commanding attention. Jackson, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Thank you for meeting me. Curiosity got the better of me, I replied honestly. It's been a long time. 15 years, she smiled tentatively. You look different, good different. Life changes us all. What brings you back to Michigan? Last I heard, you were conquering New York. Her smile faltered. That's partly why I wanted to see you. I'm relocating my practice here, family law primarily. Quite a change from corporate litigation. I needed a change. She fidgeted with her napkin. The truth is, Robert and I divorced 3 years ago. He turned out to be not who I thought. I nodded, feeling neither satisfaction nor pity. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Her eyes searched mine. Life's too short for grudges, Miranda. She looked relieved. I was worried you'd hate me. I did for a while, I admitted, but that was a lifetime ago. And now, are you happy, Jack? The question seemed genuine. I thought about my firm, my friends, the buildings I designed that would outlast me. I am, very much so. I saw your name in Architectural Digest, the Riverfront Center. It's stunning. Thank you. A silence settled between us, filled with unasked questions. I've thought about reaching out so many times, she finally said, to apologize properly. What I did, how I left, it wasn't fair to you. No, it wasn't, I agreed. But it led me here. And here turned out to be exactly where I needed to be. Her eyes welled unexpectedly. I think I made a mistake, Jack. Walking away from what we had, I felt a strange sense of detachment, like watching a movie of someone else's life. Miranda, what we had was two people in very different places wanting very different things. You weren't wrong about that part. And now? We're both established, successful, maybe older and wiser? Hope tinged her voice. I shook my head gently. Now we're still two different people, just with more clarity about who we are. You're not even a little curious about what could be? She pressed. We had something once. We did, and it's a part of my story I've made peace with. I glanced at my watch. I have a meeting with investors in 20 minutes. As we stood to leave, she touched my arm. Could we meet again, just to talk more? I don't think that would be helpful for either of us, I said kindly but firmly. But I wish you well with your new practice, truly. Outside, the Michigan sunshine felt warm on my face. My phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. How'd it go with the ghost? I smiled and typed back. Some ghosts are just people who took a different path. Back at the office, Carlos was waiting. Well, how was the blast from the past? Educational, I replied, setting down my portfolio. Reminded me how far I've come. And did she want something? I laughed. A second chance, I think. Carlos's eyes widened. Seriously? After all this time, what did you say? That some doors are better left closed, especially when the new ones open to much better views. Later that evening, as I stood on the balcony of my downtown loft overlooking the city skyline I'd helped shape, I realized something profound. The day Miranda left wasn't the day my life fell apart. It was the day it finally began. She had called me untouchable during our brief meeting, meant as a compliment on my success, my new confidence, but the word meant something different to me. Not cold or unreachable, but unshakable, secure in who I'd become. Some might call it poetic justice that she returned just as I'd found my stride. But I prefer to think of it as the universe's strange symmetry, bringing us full circle not for revenge or reconciliation, but for closure. The most satisfying victory, after all, isn't making someone regret leaving you. It's no longer needing them to.